Imagine standing on this rotting wooden dock, deep underground. You've got 500,000 gold pieces sitting in heavy iron chests right at your feet, but there is just this massive problem.
Oh, there's always a problem.
Always. I mean, you have a notorious bandit captain literally screaming in your face, swinging dual scimitars around.
Sounds terrifying.
Right. And meanwhile, four avian mercenaries have their heavy bows drawn and aimed squarely at your chest. And to top it all off, you are about to detonate a 20-foot sphere of bubbling, searing green acid directly on top of your own head.
Yeah, see, most people would just run for their lives at that point.
Absolutely. But today, we are going to show you why staying exactly where you are and executing a perfectly timed backflip is actually a masterclass in tactical game design.
It sounds like absolute chaos.
Yeah.
But what we're actually looking at is a highly controlled, mathematically precise sequence of events.
Exactly.
I mean, when you understand the underlying mechanics of a situation like that,
Yeah.
it stops being a suicide mission and becomes, well, a stroke of genius.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are taking you on an immersive journey that completely breaks the mold.
Yeah, we aren't going to just sit here and read you a list of rule changes from a textbook.
No textbook reading today. We're using the theater of the mind to step straight into the bustling, notoriously dangerous streets of the City of Splendors. We're going to Waterdeep.
We are diving headfirst into the new mechanics of the 2024 Player's Handbook for Dungeons and Dragons, but we're doing it through a live narrative lens. Like, we're going to role-play a full adventuring day.
And that is the magic of what we're doing today. I will be stepping into the incredibly agile boots of a character named Amon.
Right, the monk.
Yep, he's a 6th-level monk who follows the way of the elements, and you, my friend, are taking up the mantle of the Dungeon Master.
I'm ready. I'm going to paint the world, control the adversaries, and basically break down the design philosophy behind what happens when those dice hit the table.
And we're pulling elements from the Waterdeep Dragon Heist sourcebook, fusing them with the 2024 rules update, and we're just running a gauntlet.
And for you listening, whether you're a seasoned player who's been rolling 20-sided dice for decades, or, a dungeon master looking for encounter design tips.
Or even someone entirely new to the hobby who just wants to understand how these stories unfold.
Exactly. This is your front row seat. We're going to explore not just the what of the game, but the why. Like, why do certain tactical choices matter?
Right, and how do the updated rules actually change the way a player approaches a really dangerous fantasy world?
So let's set the stakes here. Amon hasn't just wandered into Waterdeep looking for trouble, right?
No, he's a professional. He has been contracted for a very specific job. The employer is Davil Starsong, who's a prominent figure in the Zentarum.
Ah, the Doom Raiders.
Exactly, that specific faction. They are essentially this mercenary company with a very shadowy past, and they're currently trying to establish a legitimate foothold in the city.
Which is expensive.
Super expensive.
Yeah.
So Davil has hired Amon to recover a massive cache of stolen wealth. We are talking about 500,000 Waterdeep dragons.
And for those who don't know, those are the heavy gold coins of the city. A sum of money that large completely destabilizes the local economy.
It's a ridiculous amount of gold. And because no D&D heist is complete without a highly specific, kind of flavorful secondary objective, Amon also needs to recover a massive shipment of smuggled dwarven ale.
Naturally, because of course that was taken alongside the goal.
Priorities, right. You have to secure the ale. But the people who stole it are not your run-of-the-mill street pickpocket.
No, they belong to the Xanathar Guild.
Yes. And for those unfamiliar, Xanathar is a deeply paranoid, incredibly dangerous beholder crime lord.
Yeah, his syndicate is just this sprawling, chaotic mess of thieves, smugglers, monsters, and outcasts.
Stealing from Xanathar is dangerous. Stealing back what Xanathar already stole is practically a death wish.
Which brings us to the structure of our deep dive today. We're going to guide your character, Amon, through a series of sequential encounters.
Right. We've got a beginning, a middle, an environmental obstacle, and a final climax.
But the overarching tension of this entire narrative is resource management. I mean, the 5th edition rule set is fundamentally an attrition simulator. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, I have to survive the whole day. Amon has finite hit points and a very limited pool of focus points, which fuel his monk abilities.
Yes,
I can't just unleash my most devastating attacks on the first thug I see, or I will be completely empty when I finally reach the boss.
Precisely. You are bound by the limits of short and long rests. The 2024 rules update brought some of the most celebrated redesigns to the monk class, transforming them from fast, fragile skirmishers into deeply tactical combatants.
They really control the battlefield now.
They do. But that power still requires discipline. If you out early, the Undermountain will literally swallow you whole.
I love that pressure. So the first phase of Amon's tactical playbook is always the condition check and resource audit.
Walk me through it.
Okay, I have my full pool of hit points. I have 6 focus points. I am not poisoned, exhausted, or restrained. I am ready. So set the scene for me, DM. Where do we begin?
All right, the sky above Waterdeep is a dismal, bruised gray. It's threatening a heavy, cold rain. You've been tracking Xanathar's smugglers for hours.
Just following the trail?
Yep, you're moving north, completely out of the wealthy cobblestone splendor of the castle ward. You have passed the main walls of the city and entered a district known as the Field Ward.
Not exactly the tourist brochure version of the city, I'm guessing.
Far from it. I mean, historically, the Field Ward was a caravan yard. It was kept intentionally clear of permanent structures so it could serve as a killing field in times of war.
Oh, wow. Dark.
Yeah, and today it is a muddy, lawless sprawl. It's packed with desperate refugees, makeshift housing, smokehouses, leather tanning facilities.
The smell must be incredible.
Oh, it's awful. The smell of slaughterhouses, chemical runoff, and wet earth just hangs heavy in the air. The City Watch rarely patrols this deep into the muck.
So if a fight breaks out, nobody's coming to break it up.
Exactly the opposite, actually. If a fight breaks out, people will close their shutters and ignore the screams.
Lovely place.
Right. So you are tracking a specific splinter group of Xanathar thugs through this sludge. You're following the deep, grooved wagon tracks left by those heavy chests of gold.
Because 500,000 coins is going to leave a serious rut in the mud.
Exactly. The tracks lead you into a notoriously claustrophobic choke point called Asma's Alley.
Uh-oh. Claustrophobic is not a monk's favorite word. I need room to maneuver.
You don't have it here. The buildings lean over the alley. So far, they almost touch at the roof lines, completely blocking out what little daylight remains.
Setting the mood, I like it.
Local children usually hop on one foot when crossing this alley because of this dark urban legend about a poisoner who buried victims beneath the stones.
Okay, super creepy.
But today, the alley is empty of innocent bystanders. As you step onto the slick, moss-covered flagstones, the shadows detach from the walls.
I knew it! An ambush!
6 figures surround you. They are Xanathar thugs, wearing the ragged leather armor of the Syndicate, and they have jagged, rusted short swords drawn.
Okay, 6 on 1.
The leader is a scarred half-orc. He steps forward, blocking the exit, and demands a toll to pass through his territory.
Okay, here is where the new mechanics genuinely changed the way I approached the game.
How so?
Well, the old instinct for a lot of players, myself included, would be to just sigh, roll initiative, and start throwing punches.
Right, just go straight to combat.
Exactly. But Amon is a monk. His entire philosophy is built on rigorous mental discipline and minimizing unnecessary conflict. I want to save my resources for the gold.
That makes sense.
So I am going to initiate phase 2 of my playbook, which is gathering information and attempting de-escalation. I'm going to use an influence action.
Oh, the influence action.
Oh.
That is a brilliant addition to the core combat rules.
It really is.
In older iterations of the game, so little interaction during a tense standoff was often just a vague suggestion to the DM, like you just say you talk to them. Now, it is a codified action you can take to actively shape an NPC's attitude.
Right, it has actual weight.
Walk me through exactly what Amon does here.
Okay, I am not going to draw my weapons. I am not going to raise my fists. Amon simply stands there, perfectly balanced in the mud.
Okay, very calm.
Yeah, he is a Way of the Elements monk, so his connection to the natural world is intensely physical. He locks eyes with the half-orc leader. I want to roll a charisma check using the intimidation skill.
What's the visual for this?
The flavor of it is that the air around Amon literally drops in temperature. Small pebbles in the mud begin to vibrate and float an inch off the ground due to the shifting air pressure.
That's awesome.
I want to awe them. I want to project such a terrifying aura of controlled violence that they realize demanding a toll from me is a fatal mistake.
The visual is striking. Go ahead and roll that intimidation check.
Okay, shaking the dice. That is a 16 on the die, plus my modifiers. It's a high roll. A very solid intimidation attempt.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, the half-orc definitely hesitates. The bravado completely drops from his face. You can see the doubt in his eyes as the elemental energy warps the very air in the alleyway.
Good. Back off.
The thugs behind him actually take a nervous step back.
There's always a but.
Here is the narrative reality of the Xanathar Guild. These thugs are terrified of you right now, sure, but they are infinitely more terrified of their boss.
Because Xanathar is a crazy beholder.
Exactly. He does not accept failure, and he certainly doesn't accept cowards. If they let you pass and word gets back to him, their fate will be much worse than a beating.
So they're desperate.
Very. The half-orc sneers, grips his rusted blade tighter, and lunges directly at your chest. Negotiations have officially failed.
Well, I gave them a chance. If they want to fight, they're getting a masterclass in pain. But I am absolutely not going to let 6 guys swarm me in a narrow alley.
They have the numbers advantage.
For now, I am immediately initiating my flurry of daggers and strikes sequence.
Let's break down the anatomy of a turn under the 2024 rules. What is the very first mechanical choice you make as that rusted blade comes toward you?
The moment the half-orc moves, I am spending 1 focus point to activate elemental attunement.
Okay, and let's explain to the listener why that is such a defining feature for this subclass. What does spending that single resource actually buy you?
It fundamentally rewrites the geometry of the battlefield. By channeling his internal reservoir of elemental power, Amon infuses his unarmed strikes and monk weapons with elemental energy.
Right.
But the critical part is that his reach extends to 15 feet. I want to flavor this as razor-sharp gusts of wind. Violent, swirling currents of air whip around his limbs, extending far past his physical body.
You are taking a risk there, though. I mean, you only have 6 focus points for the entire day, and we haven't even found the stolen gold yet. Spending 1 before the first attack roll is even made, is that reckless?
It looks reckless if you only look at the cost, but look at the mitigation. Having a 15-foot reach against 6 enemies who are only armed with simple short swords is like playing a deadly game of tag, where I have a massive bullwhip and they are stuck with pocket knives.
That's a great analogy.
I can strike them with the elemental wind, but they physically cannot hit me unless they spend their movement to push through that swirling danger zone. I am dictating the space.
That is a phenomenal way to look at it.
Yeah.
You are essentially creating a hazard zone centered on yourself. So you have your 15-foot elemental reach established. What is the actual action?
I take the attack action, and I am using a monk weapon, which is my dagger. But the 2024 update introduces a mechanic that completely alters martial combat. Weapon masteries.
Oh yeah, this is huge.
My dagger has a mastery property called Nick.
The Nick mastery is arguably one of the most impactful changes to the game's pacing and action economy.
Totally.
In the 2014 rules, if you wanted to fight with a weapon in each hand, it was incredibly punishing. You had to use your main action to attack with the first weapon, and then you were forced to sacrifice your precious bonus action to make a single strike with the second weapon.
Which, for a monk, was devastating. Because monks rely heavily on their bonus action for movement, defense, and extra martial arts strikes. The old dual-wielding rules essentially forced us to choose between doing damage or using our class features.
But the Nick mastery fixes that bottleneck. Explain how Amon uses it here.
Because I am wielding a weapon with the Nick mastery, I can make that extra attack with a different light weapon as part of my initial attack action. It doesn't consume my bonus action at all.
That is so efficient.
So Amon slashes the air with his dagger, sending a crescent blade of compressed wind at the half-orc from 15 feet away. And then, seamlessly as part of the exact same motion, he follows up with a second strike from his offhand.
2 attacks right out of the gate.
Exactly, dealing piercing and elemental damage, all from a completely safe distance.
I love it. The wind howls down the narrow confines of Asma's alley. The half-orc is charging forward, expecting to cross blades with you. He doesn't even realize he's been hit until the compressed elemental wind lashes across his chest, slicing through his leather armor like paper.
Take that.
He stumbles back, blood blooming on his tunic. He hasn't even gotten within 10 feet of you yet. But your turn isn't over because you preserved your bonus action.
Exactly. This is where the discipline of resource management comes into play. I could spend another focus point right now to use Flurry of Blows, which would give me 2 additional unarmed strikes.
And that would probably drop the half-orc outright.
It totally would, but I am not going to do that. I am hoarding my energy. Instead, I am just going to make 1 standard unarmed strike, which I can do for free as a bonus action because I took the attack action.
So you are opting for sustained pressure rather than a massive burst of damage.
Right. It's the marathon mentality. I execute a sweeping, rotational martial arts kick. My physical foot hits nothing but air, but the 15-foot extension of elemental force slams into the half-orc.
Nice.
And because I have elemental attunement active, there is a secondary effect. When I deal this damage, I force the target to make a strength saving throw against my kin save DC, which is 14.
A DC 14 is a genuinely tough physical challenge for a standard street thug. It means unless he is exceptionally strong or gets very lucky on the die, the sheer physics of your attack are going to overpower him. Let's see, he rolls a 6.
Yes.
He fails the save. He tries to brace his boots against the muddy cobblestones, but the kinetic force of the wind catches him square in the chest.
Now, on a failed save, the elemental force allows me to move the target up to 10 feet toward me or away from me. It is a forced movement mechanic.
And I'm guessing you don't want to hug.
I do not want him near me, so I blast him 10 feet backward, sending him crashing violently into the thugs rushing up behind him.
It is a brilliant display of crowd control. Think about the narrative reality of what the other 5 thugs are experiencing right now.
They're probably rethinking this whole toll idea.
Definitely. They thought they were ambushing a lone, unarmed traveler in an alley. In the span of maybe 3 seconds, you generated a localized tornado, sliced their leader open from 15 feet away without touching him, and then physically blasted him through the air like he was hit by a battering ram.
Yep, and I didn't get a scratch on me?
You dismantled their numerical advantage without spending more than a single focus point.
They have to be second-guessing their life choices right now.
Their morale completely shatters. The leader is groaning in the mud, clutching his ribs. The other thugs look at him. They look at the swirling vortex of wind surrounding you, and the fight just drains right out of them.
They realize Xanathar's gold isn't worth dying for today.
Exactly. They scatter. But they don't run back into the open streets of the field ward where you could easily chase them down. Instead, they scramble toward the foundation of a ruined, burned-out smokehouse.
Heading down?
Yeah. They heave open a heavy, rusted iron grate set into the stone, dive into the absolute darkness below, and the grate slams shut with a metallic clang.
So the trail leads underground. If I want the gold, I have to follow them into the dark.
You do. You step over the mud, the elemental wind fading around you as you approach the heavy grate. You pry it open, revealing a slick stone stairwell descending into the depths.
Okay, down we go.
We are moving from the chaotic, open-air skirmish of the city streets to the claustrophobic, oppressive darkness of the underground.
All right, the environment is shifting. I am moving into an exploration challenge. DM, paint the sensory picture of this underground environment. What is Amon walking into?
So, as you descend the slick, mossy stone steps, the temperature drops dramatically. The sounds of the city above, the vendors, the distant bells, are completely swallowed by the stone.
It's just quiet.
Very quiet. You are entering the upper, forgotten layers of Waterdeep's sewer system, a labyrinthine network that eventually bleeds into the infamous Undermountain.
That's a dangerous place to be.
It really is. The stone tunnels are dripping with condensation. The smell is atrocious. It is a thick, stagnant mix of black water decay and the sharp, metallic tang of old blood.
Gross. Well, Amon has dark vision thanks to his heritage, right?
Yes, your vision cuts through the pitch blackness, rendering the world in shades of gray. You follow the wet footprints of the fleeing thugs down a narrow corridor.
Do I see them?
Not them, but ahead. You see that they have passed through a heavy iron portcullis, a gate made of thick metal bars, and it is currently locked tight. But there is a glaring problem.
There is always a complication when criminals lock a door behind them. What do I see?
The 10-foot section of the stone tunnel leading directly up to the portcullis looks entirely too clean. The moss and grime that coat the rest of the sewer are completely scoured away.
Oh, that's never a good sign.
Nope. Furthermore, strung across the ankle-high darkness, mere inches off the floor, is a nearly invisible taut tripwire.
A tripwire, of course.
And if you look closely at the stone archway above the heavy iron gate, there is a suspicious, faintly glowing magical glyph etched into the masonry.
Okay, so let's map the consequences here. If I just stroll up to the gate, pull out some thieves' tools, and try to pick the lock, my boot snaps the tripwire, the magical glyph detonates, and I am probably bathed in something horrific.
Almost certainly.
This is a classic hazard. I need to deploy my trap situation playbook sequence.
This is a fantastic moment to talk about game design. In the standard adventuring day, traps are not necessarily designed to instantly kill a player.
Right, they're meant to whittle you down.
Exactly. They are resource taxes. The dungeon is trying to bleed you. It wants to drain your hit points, so your cleric has to burn a spell slot to heal you, or force the rogue to risk their neck taking damage.
And if you take damage here, You are mathematically weaker for the boss fight later.
Yes. So how does Amon approach a complex mechanical and magical hazard like this without paying the tax?
The first step in my sequence is pure observation, detection. I am not touching a single stone, wire, or lock yet.
Smart.
I am going to use my wisdom, specifically the insight skill, and my intelligence via investigation to map the trap's triggers. I want to understand the angle of the wire, the nature of the glyph, and figure out where the actual payload, weapon of the trap, is hidden in the ceiling or walls.
You spend several tense minutes standing perfectly still in the damp tunnel, studying the architecture. Your high wisdom and specialized monk training allow you to trace the faint tension of the tripwire to a series of microscopic hidden nozzles recessed into the stone walls.
Nozzles? Okay.
The glowing glyph appears to be a magical activation rune. You deduce that if the wire is snapped, or if the locking mechanism of the portcullis is tampered with without the proper physical key, the rune will activate.
And what comes out of the nozzles?
The nozzles will spray a highly corrosive acid, flooding the recessed floor directly in front of the gate.
An acid bath in a confined space. Good to know. Step 2 is safe remote manipulation. I know what the trap does, and I know I can't pick the lock without setting it off.
It's rigged to blow.
So the goal is to trigger the trap intentionally, but do it harmlessly from a safe distance. I'm going to cast a cantrip, Mage Hand. Specifically, my racial ability gives me an invisible version of it.
Oh, that's handy. You project a spectral, invisible hand of telekinetic force into the space ahead of you.
Exactly. I back up 30 feet down the tunnel, well out of the estimated blast radius. I send the invisible hand floating through the air, threading it carefully between the thick iron bars of the portcullis.
Okay, tracing its path.
I position it on the inside of the gate, right at the locking mechanism, and then I instruct the mage hand to just violently wrench the internal tumblers, intentionally forcing the lock to break and triggering the trap.
It is a clever bypass, but let's look at the long-term consequence of that action.
Oh.
By intentionally snapping the tumblers from the inside, you are permanently destroying the locking mechanism. You will get the gate open, sure, but if things go horribly wrong deeper in the dungeon and you need to retreat back through this tunnel, you will not be able to lock this gate behind you to slow down your pursuers.
I'm burning my bridges.
You are.
That is a terrifying point, but it's a risk I have to take. I cannot afford to take acid damage right now. I wrench the lock.
The moment the spectral hand forces the tumblers, the magical glyph above the archway flares a brilliant, sickly green. A deafening hissing sound echoes through the stone tunnel, and thick, bubbling acid sprays violently from the hidden nozzles in the walls.
Whoa.
It coats the 10-foot section of the floor in front of the gate, eating away at the clean stone and filling the air with acrid, burning smoke.
Did the gate open?
The broken locking mechanism clicks loudly, and the heavy iron portcullis slides up about an inch, disengaged from the floor. But now you have a massive bubbling pool of highly corrosive acid completely blocking your path to the gate. And the stone floor around the pool is slick and crumbling. It is severe, difficult terrain.
I expected as much. This brings me to step 3, supernatural bypass. The trap has fired, its payload is spent, but the hazard remains.
A big puddle of acid.
I need to cross that 10-foot pool of acid without melting the soles of my boots, so I'm going to unstrap my signature weapon from my back, the quarterstaff of the acrobat.
A phenomenal magical item. For the listeners, the quarterstaff of the acrobat is an uncommon magic item that possesses a few incredible utility features. How are you applying it here?
Right now, I am utilizing its shifting property. With a quick twist of my wrist and a spoken command word, the standard quarterstaff magically elongates, shifting into a rigid 10-foot pole.
Oh, I see where this is going.
I'm going to back up, get a running start down the tunnel, plant the end of the pole on the very edge of the dry stone just before the acid pool, and execute a massive pole vault over the bubbling hazard.
Ambitious.
My goal is to launch myself through the air and slide directly into the gap under the partially open portcullis.
The physical mechanics of this maneuver are incredibly demanding. This requires a dexterity check, specifically acrobatics, and it's not a standard check because you aren't just jumping. You are trying to land in a very narrow space on the other side that is considered difficult terrain due to the crumbling, acid-splashed masonry.
Right, the stakes are high.
If you fail this roll, you are falling backward right into the corrosive pool.
The tension is real, but here's why I chose this specific magic item. The quarterstaff of the acrobat grants its wielded advantage on dexterity acrobatics checks.
Ah, that's huge.
It fundamentally alters my center of gravity to ensure perfection. I get to roll 2 20-sided dice and take the higher result. So I'm rolling, and I got an 18 on the second die, plus my acrobatics modifier. That is easily in the mid-20s.
It is a flawless success. Let me narrate the cinematic reality of this moment. You sprint down the dark, damp tunnel, the sound of your boots echoing off the stone. You plant the 10-foot pole with mathematical precision on the very lip of the hazard.
Bending the pole.
The enchanted wood flexes under your weight, and you launch yourself into the air, soaring gracefully over the bubbling green acid. As you reach the apex of the vault, you tuck your body tight, threading the needle directly under the iron spikes of the portcullis. You hit the ground on the other side. The stone immediately crumbles beneath your boots, threatening to send you sliding backward into the pool, but your rigorous monk training takes over. You distribute your weight instantly, shifting your center of gravity, and land in a perfect, balanced three-point crouch. You are entirely safe.
And most importantly, my hit points and my focus points are completely untouched.
Which is the ultimate victory in an exploration challenge. You respected the resource tax of the dungeon and found a creative way around it.
I didn't just walk into it.
Right, you didn't rely on brute force or healing magic, and because you conserve that energy, you are perfectly positioned for the escalation.
Things are about to heat up.
Having cleared the trap, you leave the crude sewer tunnels behind. You press deeper into the actual crust of the Undermountain. The wet, crumbling masonry gives way to ancient, immaculately carved dwarven architecture. The corridors widen, and you have finally reached Sanathar's heavier security checkpoint.
Okay, we are entering the middle of the narrative arc. Heavy combat. My elemental aura is fading, but my adrenaline is spiking. Who is waiting for me in the dark?
The tunnel opens into a massive, reinforced chamber. Standing dead center, completely blocking the only exit, are two hulking figures. They are Duergar stone guards.
Duergar, deep dwarves. That is a massive step up from street thugs.
Absolutely. These are hardened mercenaries hired from the deepest parts of the Underdark to hold this exact choke point. They are heavily armored in dark, interlocking plates of Undermountain steel.
Sounds tough to crack.
Very. They are wielding massive, blocky warhammers. Mechanically, Duergar are a nightmare for many adventurers because they are highly resistant to magic and poison, and their thick plate armor gives them an incredibly high armor class.
Right.
The moment you stepped into the chamber, one of them spots you. He utters a harsh, guttural command in Undercommon. The second Duergar immediately drops his stance, and his body rapidly begins to mutate and expand. He is using the innate Duergar magical ability to cast Enlarge on himself. His armor stretches and groans. Within seconds, a 10-foot-tall, heavily armored dwarven giant is blocking your path, gripping a warhammer the size of a tavern table.
Okay, that is a terrifying visual. I know from experience that standard rapid-fire physical attacks are just going to glance harmlessly off that interlocking heavy armor.
You'd just be pinging off him.
I need to change the dynamic of the fight. I need to get this giant on the ground where his armor is a liability, not an asset. So I am looking at my quarterstaff, which I have shifted back to its normal size, and I am going to utilize its specific weapon mastery property, Topple.
The Topple Mastery is a prime example of how the 2024 rules empower martial characters to control the battlefield without relying on spells.
It's so good.
Walk us through how you intend to use Topple against a creature that is literally twice your size.
Well, in the 2014 iteration of the rules, trying to shove or grapple a massive, enlarged creature was an absolute nightmare of contested athletics checks.
Yeah, you'd almost always lose.
And let's be honest about the fiction of the game here. Amon is a highly agile, dexterous monk. He is not a massive, muscle-bound barbarian. If it comes down to a pure pushing contest against a 10-foot-tall giant, Amon loses every single time.
Physically, it doesn't make sense.
Right. But the new weapon masteries completely sidestep the contested athletics check.
How so? Explain the new mechanic.
The Topple Mastery dictates that when I hit a creature with this weapon, I can force them to make a Constitution saving throw. If they fail, the sheer precise impact of the strike knocks them prone.
Okay.
And the absolute most crucial detail of the 2024 rule text. There is no size restriction listed for the Topple property.
Doesn't matter if the target is medium, large, huge, or even gargantuan.
Nope.
The philosophy is that a perfectly placed strike to a creature's center of gravity can bring down absolutely anything. It is the classic David and Goliath mechanic realized in the rules.
Exactly. I want to leverage his massive unnatural weight against him. I rush forward, sliding under the sweeping arc of his giant warhammer. I am not aiming for his armored chest. That would be useless.
Where are you aiming?
I drive the heavy iron-shod end of my quarterstaff directly into the back of his knee joint with everything I have.
It is a precision strike to a vital weak point. The enlarged Duergar has to make a constitution saving throw to withstand the nerve shock and maintain his balance. The dice clatters on the table, and he rolls a 4.
Yes.
He catastrophically fails the save. The sheer physics of his newly enlarged, top-heavy form work entirely against him. The knee joint buckles under the precision strike. This 10-foot-tall, heavily armored dwarven mercenary crashes to the stone floor with a deafening metallic clang that shakes the dust from the ceiling. He is prone.
Which is huge because any melee attacks against a prone creature from within 5 feet have advantage. He is struggling like a turtle on its back.
He is, but you cannot forget about his partner.
Right, there were 2 of them.
While the giant falls, the second, normal-sized Duergar uses the distraction to charge you from your blind flank. He swings his heavy warhammer in a brutal, two-handed sweeping arc, aiming directly to crush your ribs while you are focused on the giant.
Ouch.
I roll the attack for him, and it is a natural 18 on the die, plus his strength modifiers. That easily clears your agile armor class. The hammer is on a direct collision course with your torso, and it is going to deal heavy bludgeoning damage.
The old me would just have to eat that damage and hope I survive. But the 2024 monk has a phenomenal defensive reaction. As the hammer closes the final inch, I shout my reaction trigger. I am using deflect attacks.
Now, veteran players will remember a feature called deflect missiles.
Sure.
But that only worked on arrows, crossbow bolts, and thrown daggers. What did the 2024 update change?
They fundamentally upgraded the monk's survivability. It is no longer just deflect missiles, it is deflect attacks. This feature now works on incoming melee attacks that deal bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage.
That's a massive upgrade.
It's game-changing. So let's visualize this. Amon sees the massive warhammer swinging in. He doesn't try to block it with a rigid forearm. The sheer kinetic force would shatter his bones instantly.
That would be bad.
Instead, he steps into the swing. He catches the heavy wooden haft of the hammer with both hands, pivoting his entire body to ride the momentum of the swing, smoothly bleeding off the incoming kinetic energy.
The mechanical translation of that martial arts trope is beautiful. You roll a d10, add your dexterity modifier, and then add your monk level. Let's see the math on that.
Okay, my dexterity modifier is a +5. I am a level 6 monk, so my baseline reduction is a guaranteed 11 points, plus the roll of the 10-sided die. I roll an 8. That means I am reducing the incoming damage by a massive 19 points.
Wow. The Duergar's damage roll was only 14. You reduce the damage completely to 0.
Amazing.
You catch the haft of the warhammer mid-swing, stopping its deadly momentum dead in its tracks. The Duergar's eyes widen in absolute shock as he pushes against you with all his dwarven strength, and you just hold him perfectly still with a calm expression.
But the sequence isn't over. Because I successfully reduced the incoming damage to 0, I can actively use his momentum against him. I am spending 1 focus point to use the redirect option.
Let's analyze why this counterattack is so tactically devastating against a heavily armored enemy like a Duergar. The dwarf has heavy plate armor, meaning his armor class is very high. Making a standard attack roll against him is risky.
You might just miss.
Exactly. But the redirect feature sidesteps his armor completely.
It doesn't use an attack roll at all. I force him to make a dexterity saving throw.
And if there is one thing heavily armored, muscle-bound deep dwarves are notoriously bad at, it is agility.
Not known for their dancing.
Your save DC is 16. The dwarf, completely off balance from having his swing halted, tries to wrest his hammer back. He rolls a 7. He fails the dexterity save miserably.
So he takes damage equal to 2 rolls of my martial arts die, plus my dexterity modifier. That's 2d8 plus 5. I rolled decent damage.
What's the narrative of this?
Oh, it's incredible. Amon uses the dwarf's own forward momentum against him. He twists the haft of the hammer violently out of the Duergar's iron grip, spins the weapon around, and slams the heavy iron head directly into the unprotected gap under the dwarf's chin.
It is a devastating, fight-ending counter. His heavy plate armor offered absolutely 0 protection against his own redirected kinetic force.
Armor doesn't protect you from your own hammer.
The dwarf collapses instantly. The combat continues for a few more brutal rounds as the enlarged Duergar tries to get back to his feet, but you systematically dismantle him using your speed, your elemental strikes, and your advantage against his prone form.
Tearing him down piece by piece.
The heavy combat encounter is won. The chamber is quiet again.
The encounter is won, but Amon didn't walk away completely unscathed. I took a few glancing hits during the melee. My muscles are burning. I am down a significant chunk of hit points, and I have burned through several focus points.
The attrition is starting to show.
It really is. This leads us to the crucial pacing mechanic of the game. Short rest number 1.
You find a secure alcove in the ancient dwarven architecture. Perhaps an old guard post carved into the rock, complete with a heavy stone door that you can securely wedge shut from the inside.
Perfect.
You initiate a 1-hour short rest. You sit in the absolute dark in a meditative lotus stance. You focus your breathing, slowing your heart rate, letting your internal elemental energy knit your bruised flesh and fractured ribs back together.
Mechanically, I am going to spend some of my hit dice. I roll a few d8s, add my constitution modifier to each roll, and bring my hit points back up to a comfortable functional level.
Good to go.
But this raises a question that I think a lot of new players struggle with when they are bleeding out in a dark dungeon.
What's that?
Why can't I just pull up my bedroll right here in this safe room, take an 8-hour-long rest, and get all my stats, all my hit dice, and all my focus points completely refilled before moving on?
It is a vital question about game balance and the suspension of disbelief. If we look at the strict parameters of the 2024 resting rules, a long rest requires a full 8 hours of downtime, with at least 6 hours of sleep. Right. But the absolute critical rule, the rule that prevents players from just sleeping after every single fight, is this. A character can only benefit from one long rest every 24 hours.
So let's look at the timeline. Amon woke up at dawn, had a hearty breakfast at the Yawning Portal Tavern, and spent the morning tracking these smugglers through the field ward. It is currently, mid-afternoon at best.
Exactly. Your body physically cannot benefit from another deep, restorative 8-hour sleep cycle yet. You are full of adrenaline. You have to push through the exhaustion.
It makes sense narratively, too.
This 1-hour breather is the only way to heal right now without relying on magical health potions or cleric spells, neither of which you have access to. It enforces the pacing of the marathon.
I have to ration my strength.
You have caught your breath, bandaged your lacerations, and through meditation, you have recovered your spent focus points. You are back at your baseline, but your reserve of hit dice is dwindling.
All right. Rested, focused, but acutely aware of the ticking clock. Amon unwedges the heavy stone door and pushes deeper into the Undermountain. We are moving into the next phase of the heist. What is the environment looking like now?
You leave the structured, carved, dwarven corridors behind. The stonework becomes jagged and natural again. You step out from a narrow tunnel onto a sheer, crumbling ledge overlooking a massive, yawning cavern.
Sounds precarious.
The air here is completely dead and freezing cold. The ceiling is lost in the impenetrable darkness above. And stretching across a terrifyingly deep, 40-foot-wide chasm are the ruined, jagged remains of a subterranean stone bridge.
When you say ruined, you mean ancient decay or recently destroyed?
Destroyed intentionally and recently. You can see fresh scorch marks and shattered stone. The smugglers, carrying the heavy chests of gold and the massive casks of ale, clearly crossed this bridge and then intentionally shattered the central span with explosives to cover their tracks and halt any pursuit.
They blew the bridge.
They did. The drop below you is pitch black. A pebble kicked off the edge makes absolutely no sound as it falls. You are facing a pure, terrifying environmental mobility challenge.
I genuinely love these kinds of challenges in D&D. This is exactly where the monk shines brightest. I don't need to backtrack to town for a grappling hook. I am going to utilize my skill-enhanced movement sequence. I am going to cross this gap using nothing but speed and physics.
A 40-foot horizontal jump over a bottomless pit is beyond the physical capabilities of an Olympic athlete. Walk us through the specific mechanics of how you intend to defy gravity.
First, I lean into Amon's specific heritage. I am playing a Githyanki, a race of psionic warriors originating from the astral plane.
Yeah.
Because of my Githyanki psionic's racial ability, I can cast the jump spell on myself once per day without spending a spell slot.
So step 1, your baseline jumping capability is now magically, psionically enhanced.
Yes, but that alone isn't enough to clear a 40-foot gap reliably. Step 2. I spend 1 focus point to activate my monk feature, Step of the Wind.
Step of the Wind.
This feature allows me to take the dash action as a bonus action, giving me incredible speed. But crucially, the 2024 rules explicitly state that using Step of the Wind doubles my jump distance for the turn.
Let's break down the math of jumping in 2024, because it used to be a point of confusion for a lot of tables. Under standard rules, a character needs a 10-foot running start just to make a long jump equal to their strength score.
Right.
Monks traditionally don't invest heavily in the strength stat, they rely on dexterity. So normally, a monk is actually a terrible long jumper.
Which always felt narratively wrong. Like, I'm a martial arts master, why can't I jump? But with the jump spell active and Step of the Wind doubling the total calculation, the math radically shifts.
You're suddenly flying.
Amon doesn't even need a running start to clear this. Even starting from 0 baseline movement, standing with his toes right on the crumbling edge of the abyss, the multiplied distance allows him to clear incredible horizontal space.
The visual of this is absolutely stunning. You don't back up to get a running start. You stand perfectly still on the edge of the chasm. Faint purple psionic energy begins to crackle and spark around your boots, mingling with your swirling elemental aura.
Getting ready to launch.
You bend your knees, focusing your internal power, channeling the elemental wind itself to buoy your weight. And then you simply leap.
Like a missile, I want to launch myself straight across.
You completely defy gravity. You soar in a massive, terrifyingly flat arc over the pitch-black dead air of the 40-foot chasm. For one agonizing silent second, you are entirely suspended in the dark, with nothing but the bottomless abyss below you.
Don't look down.
And then your boots hit the solid stone of the far ledge with a heavy, secure thud. You stick the landing flawlessly.
Just a beautiful, flawless execution of pure mobility. And it is worth noting for the listeners that the monk's toolkit is so versatile, I actually had a backup plan if the dice or the math hadn't been in my favor.
Really? What was the backup plan?
Well, if there had been a solid wall adjacent to the chasm instead of just open air, I could have bypassed the jump entirely using my energy bow.
Explain how that magical item functions.
The energy bow has a unique utility feature where instead of firing a damaging arrow, I can fire an energy ladder.
An energy ladder.
Yeah, it creates a glowing 60-foot vertical climbing surface out of pure force energy. It just showcases how adaptable the class is. If I couldn't jump across, I could have shot a ladder onto the cavern ceiling and literally monkey barred my way over the abyss.
Preparation and alternate solutions are key to surviving. But while your landing was mechanically flawless, it comes with an immediate dire complication.
I had a feeling.
The moment your boots hit the stone on the far side of the chasm, the shadows clinging to the massive stalactites high above you begin to shift and detach.
Oh no, I should have known the ceiling of a massive cavern wouldn't be empty. We are moving into the aerial ambush. What is up there?
You have to remember who you are dealing with. Xanathar is a beholder, a creature of floating, paranoid eyes. His guild extensively uses lesser beholderkin as spies and aerial security.
Floating eyes.
Emerging from the rocky ceiling are 3 gazers, grapefruit-sized, spherical horrors with jagged teeth and 4 writhing eye stalks each.
Creepy.
And clinging to the stalagmites on a high, inaccessible ledge overlooking your position are 2 drow spellcasters, renegade dark elves working for the Syndicate. Before you even have time to stand up straight from your landing, they are raining magical, suppressive fire down on your position.
I am caught completely out in the open on a narrow ledge. I need cover instantly, and I need to return fire against targets I can't reach with my fists. I am deploying my tactical archery, the glowing grasshopper sequence.
The glowing grasshopper, that is a fantastic name for a maneuver. Paint the scene for us.
Step 1 is movement. I use my base speed to leap laterally across the ledge, diving behind a dense cluster of jagged stalagmites to secure half cover. I am not staying pinned down in one spot.
But keep moving.
I am constantly bouncing from cover to cover, making myself a chaotic, unpredictable target.
As you dive behind the rock formation, one of the drow casters on the high ledge spots your movement. He points a twisted darkwood wand at you and unleashes an ice knife spell.
Ice knife?
A jagged, deadly shard of magically frozen water rockets across the cavern, aimed perfectly at the center of your back while you were mid-dive.
I am aggressively calling out my reaction. I am using deflect attacks.
Now, hold on. This is where we need to clarify the rules for the listeners. Can a martial artist physically catch a spell out of thin air?
Under the 2024 rules update, if the conditions are right, absolutely.
Walk us through it.
Deflect attacks trigger specifically when I am hit by an attack roll that deals piercing, bludgeoning, or slashing damage. The Ice Knife spell is unique. It isn't a fireball that forces a saving throw. The spell explicitly requires the caster to make a ranged spell attack roll to hit the target with the initial piercing shard of ice.
Ah, I see.
Because it uses an attack roll and deals piercing damage, it perfectly qualifies for the deflection mechanic.
The Drowcaster watches from the high ledge in absolute disbelief. The razor-sharp ice shard is mere inches from severing your spine when you spin midair. Your hand blurs with terrifying speed.
Yeah.
You literally catch the magical ice shard by its razor edge, stopping it cold.
And I am not just holding it, I spend one focus point to hurl it right back. But I am not throwing it at the drow. They are too far away in the dark. I redirect the frozen projectile straight up at one of the gazers hovering directly over my head.
You hurl it with incredible force. The ice shard shatters perfectly against the gazer's central eye, dropping it out of the air instantly. But you are still under heavy coordinated fire.
While I am tucked behind the stalagmites, I pull out my energy bow. I take the attack action, drawing the string back and firing arrows of pure, crackling force damage up into the darkness of the ceiling.
Taking the fight to them.
And this is where weapon mastery comes into play again. My bow has the Vex mastery.
How does Vex aid a ranged combatant?
When I hit a target with a Vex weapon, I automatically gain advantage on my next attack roll against that exact same creature before the end of my next turn.
So it's about chaining hits.
It represents painting a target, finding their weak spot. It allows Amon to systematically pinpoint, track, and drop the erratic hovering gazers one by one with pinpoint accuracy.
It is a deadly acrobatic firefight. The acoustics of the cavern amplify the sound of crackling force energy and shattering stalagmites. You are bouncing between cover, firing force arrows, catching stray magical projectiles.
Intense.
But the Drowcasters are intelligent, tactical enemies. They quickly realize they cannot hit you with direct attack rolls. Your reflexes are too fast. So one of them changes tactics. He casts Thunderwave.
Oh, that's bad.
It is very bad. Thunderwave doesn't use an attack roll. It creates a massive concussive blast of localized sound and force that washes over your entire area. It forces a Constitution saving throw.
I'll roll failed it.
The invisible shockwave hits you right as you are leaping between two stalagmites. It shatters the rock you were aiming for and blows you violently backward, right off the high ledge.
How far is the drop?
You are blown over the edge, plummeting into a lower, darker crevasse. It is a sheer 60-foot drop onto jagged, unforgiving rocks. Normally, this would result in taking 66 points of bludgeoning damage.
That would hurt.
Worse, you would land with the prone condition, lying broken in the dark, completely vulnerable to the Drowcasters above who could just rain spells down on you.
This is exactly why monks are the masters of verticality. I am deploying my slow fall reaction.
Break down the physics and the math of slow fall in this edition. How much mitigation does it offer?
As a reaction while I'm falling, I can reduce the incoming falling damage by an amount equal to exactly 5 times my monk level. I am a level 6 monk, so I instantly subtract 30 points of damage from whatever the fall would inflict.
Okay, let's see. Now, the average roll of 66 is about 21 points of damage.
So mathematically, I reduce the impact damage completely to 0.
Exactly. And here is the true tactical genius of how that rule is written. Because you take 0 damage from the fall, you entirely bypass the game rule that forces characters to land prone after a severe drop.
I don't hit the ground in a tangled heap of broken bones.
Yep. Instead, you channel the elemental wind around your body, creating an updraft that slows your descent like a parachute. You drift down the last 10 feet, your boots touch the jagged rocks lightly, and you hit the ground in a dead sprint.
I land smoothly, immediately draw my energy bow, aim straight up into the darkness, and fire a final brilliant arrow of force energy.
It strikes the Drowcaster who pushed you, knocking him right off his perch. The cavern finally falls dead silent. The ambush is cleared.
Phew.
But let's look at the toll here. You are bleeding from several magical burns. You are physically exhausted. The concussive blast of the Thunderwave rattled your teeth and bruised your ribs. You are at the absolute limit of your endurance. We initiate the second and final short rest of the adventuring day.
I am scraping the absolute bottom of the barrel here. I am burning my very last hit dice just to get back to half my maximum hit points. I am critically low on focus points.
And this is exactly the intended standard pacing for a 5e campaign. 2 short rests over the course of a heavy, grueling adventuring day. You are feeling the physical and mental burn of the marathon. The game is working exactly as designed.
But I am going to push back and complain a little bit here from the perspective of a player at the table.
Complain away.
During that firefight, the action economy felt incredibly restrictive. I had to make agonizing choices. I'm looking at my character sheet thinking I have to choose between slow fall to survive the drop and deflect attacks to catch the spells. They both cost my single reaction.
Yep, you only get one.
If the surviving gazer had shot me with a paralyzing eye ray while I was falling, I couldn't have deflected it because I had already spent my reaction to slow my descent. It feels punishing.
You are complaining, but imagine for a second if you could do both simultaneously. If you had unlimited reactions, you would be practically invincible. The game would lose all its stakes.
I guess that's true.
The action economy isn't a restriction. It is the core engine of D&D's tactical tension. The game actively forces you to prioritize threats. You have to ask yourself in a split second, do I fear the gravity of 60-foot drop more, or do I fear the spellcaster's ray more?
Sophie's choice.
You have to make a hard choice, and that choice creates dramatic, memorable tension at the table.
It is incredibly stressful in the moment, but you are right. It is exactly what makes the game rewarding when you survive it. Okay, the final short rest is complete. I am down to my final desperate reserves of health and ki.
The final push.
Amon stands up from the jagged rocks, stretches his deeply bruised shoulders, and walks toward the heavy, brine-soaked oak doors leading to the smuggling docks. It is time for Goal 6, the climax.
You kick open the heavy oak doors, and the overwhelming smell of saltwater, brine, and stale dwarven ale washes over you. You are looking at a massive subterranean harbor, a hidden, natural cove that connects directly to the sprawling mudflats outside the city walls.
A secret dock.
Torches sputter wildly on the damp stone walls, casting long, erratic shadows. And there, docked at the edge of the dark, freezing water, is a large, sturdy smuggling skiff.
Is the objective there? Do I see the gold?
Oh, it is all there.
Yep.
It is a breathtaking sight. Sitting heavily on the deck of the skiff are several iron-bound wooden chests, their lids partially open, overflowing with glittering Waterdeep dragons.
500,000 of them.
500,000 gold pieces weighs an incredible amount. The skiff is sitting very low in the water. Stacked haphazardly around the chests are dozens of heavy sealed oak casks of the stolen dwarven ale.
And the Xanathar crew. Who is left to protect it?
They are frantically rushing to load the very last of the cargo and cast off. Leading the operation is Harko, a notorious, ruthless bandit captain.
Harko.
He is heavily armored in spiked leather, dual-wielding curved scimitars, and barking frantic orders. Guarding his flanks on the skiff are 4 Kenku-avian, crow-like humanoids dressed in black leather armor.
With crossbows.
They have heavy crossbows drawn and aimed directly at the door. The moment you kick it open, Harko looks up, spits a curse onto the wooden deck of the skiff, and yells in his raspy voice, "Kill the monk! Launch the boat!"
They are trying to escape into the open water. If that boat leaves the dock, I lose the gold, I fail the mission, and the Zentarim will likely put a bounty on my head.
You can't let them leave.
I don't have the time or the hit points to dismantle them slowly, one by one, with standard martial arts. I need massive, immediate burst damage to destroy their means of escape, and I need to neutralize the Kenku archers simultaneously.
The Kenku release their crossbow bolts. They're raining deadly fire on your position at the doorway as Harko charges off the skiff and sprints down the wooden dock to engage you in melee, trying to buy his crew the precious seconds they need to launch. What is your final move?
I am bringing out the heavy artillery. I am announcing the ultimate move of my subclass. I am using my level 6 way of the element's ability, Elemental Burst.
This is the absolute pinnacle of your elemental training. Explain the mechanics of this magic action. It is a massive area of effect.
I take the magic action, spending 2 of my precious, hard-earned remaining focus points. I summon a 20-foot radius sphere of explosive elemental energy centered on any point I choose within 120 feet.
Where are you centering it?
I am choosing to center the blast directly on top of the skiff, right where the Kenku are standing, which also happens to clip the very edge of the wooden dock where Harko is swinging his scimitars at me, and I get to choose the damage type. I choose acid damage.
Why acid? Specifically, you could choose fire or cold or lightning.
Because fire might ignite the dwarven ale, and I need to return that intact. But acid, I want to melt the heavy ropes, the wooden rigging, the oars, and the hull of the skiff itself. I want to make absolutely sure that boat is physically incapable of going anywhere.
A 20-foot radius sphere is massive. It covers a 40-foot diameter. It will easily engulf the entire boat. But wait, let's look at the map.
Yeah.
Harko has charged down the dock and is currently in melee range with you. If you drop a massive explosive sphere on the boat and the edge of it clips Harko, you are standing right next to him. You are inside your own blast radius. You are going to melt yourself to death.
But this is where understanding the intricate matrix of the monk's action economy saves my life. Before I detonate the burst as my action, I use my bonus action. I spend my absolute very last focus point to activate Patient Defense.
Oh, Patient Defense allows you to take the dodge action as a bonus action.
Yes. And what does the dodge action actually do mechanically? It gives all incoming attack rolls against me disadvantage, which is great. But crucially, it grants me advantage on all dexterity saving throws I am forced to make.
Oh, that is absolutely brilliant game mechanics. Let's narrate this climax. Harko is screaming in your face, his twin scimitars flashing in the torchlight trying to sever your head. The Kenku on the boat are desperately notching fresh bolts into their crossbow.
Getting ready to fire.
You don't retreat. You drop into a perfectly balanced, deeply defensive martial stance, the patient defense. You bring your hands together, pooling all of your remaining elemental astral energy into a single, highly compressed point between your palms.
I drop to one knee and slam my glowing palms directly onto the brine-soaked wooden planks of the dock.
The wood instantly rots, splinters, and hisses. A massive, towering, 20-foot sphere of bubbling, searing green acid erupts outward with a deafening roar. It completely engulfs the skiff, the chests of gold, the Kenku, Harko, and you.
I am inside the blast. I need to roll my dexterity saving throw to survive my own bomb, and I get to roll it with advantage thanks to dodging.
Roll the dice. Your life depends on it.
I roll a 17 and an 18. With my dexterity modifier, I easily clear the save DC.
The elemental burst deals damage equal to 3 rolls of your martial arts die. That is 3d8 acid damage.
It's gonna hurt them.
The Kenku on the boat shriek in terror as their wooden crossbows dissolve in their hands and their leather armor melts away. They take the full brunt of the acid damage and collapse onto the rapidly rotting deck of the skiff.
And Harko.
Harko takes the damage as well. His spiked armor hisses and smokes, the acid burning deeply into his skin. The skiff itself groans horribly as the structural wood is eaten away, instantly taking on dark, freezing harbor water.
And what about Amon? I made the save.
Well, normally a successful save means you still take half damage. Because of the Monk's Evasion feature, which completely negates damage on a successful save. Wait, let me check the rulebook. You gain evasion at level 7. You are only level 6.
Exactly. I don't have evasion yet, so I'm going to take half damage.
But because you rolled so well, and because you took the dodge action to brace yourself, the half damage is minimal. You execute a flawless, blindingly fast backflip directly through the caustic cloud. The acid sizzles against your fading elemental aura, singing your clothes and burning your skin, but you survive the blast. You land firmly on your feet on a safe section of the dock.
Harko is badly burned, his armor is ruined, but he's a tough bandit captain. He is still standing.
Barely.
I need to finish him right now and secure the objective. I flow right from the momentum of the backflip into my final desperate maneuver, a rotational whip-snap strike.
That is your free, unarmed strike.
Yes. Using the rotational momentum of the flip, I deliver a devastating, sweeping, spinning kick directly to Harko's smoking chest. Because I still have the very last lingering seconds of my elemental attunement active, I force him to make a DC 14 strength saving throw.
Harko is gasping for breath, blinded by the thick, acrid acid smoke, his lungs burning. He tries to plant his boots, but he rolls a 5. He fails the strength save.
I use the elemental wind to push him 10 feet straight backward, right off the edge of the wooden dock.
The bandit captain flies backward through the air, flailing wildly, his scimitars clattering to the wood. He plunges into the freezing, black subterranean water of the Mudflats harbor with a massive, heavy splash.
Into the drink.
The ruined, waterlogged, heavy armor immediately pulls him under. He comes up sputtering, gasping for air, desperately clinging to a rotting wooden piling. He is completely defeated.
And the boat.
The surviving Kenku on the rapidly melting, sinking skiff throw down their half-dissolved weapons and immediately raise their hands in unconditional surrender.
I stand on the very edge of the dock, steam rising from my bruised, acid-burned fists, breathing heavily. I look down at the heavy iron chest containing 500,000 gold pieces. The mission is officially accomplished. Goal 6 is complete.
The resolution is incredibly sweet. You secure the immediate area, tie up the Kenku, and signal your Zentarum contacts. Hours later, after the grueling cleanup, you are back in the warm, noisy, wonderful safety of the yawning portal tavern.
Ah, proper chair.
Dable Star Song, the elven leader of the Doom Raiders, sits across from you at a secluded table. He smiles a dangerous smile and slides a remarkably heavy leather pouch of platinum pieces across the table, your cut of the recovered gold. You have successfully survived the adventuring day.
Let's pull back from the theater of the mind for a second and truly summarize what we just experienced. When you view the 2024 monk through the lens of an actually gruelingly paced narrative day, It completely shatters the tired old stereotype that martial combat in Dungeons and Dragons is just saying, I walk up and swing my sword twice, and then I end my turn.
It is deeply, intensely tactical. You are managing space, resources, action economy, and environmental hazards all at once.
Every single step Amon took, every jump he calculated, every parry he executed, every agonizing decision to spend or hoard a focus point was a deliberate choice.
It's constantly weighing the options.
Do I use my reaction to mitigate damage from a warhammer now? Or do I save it because I might get pushed off a 60-foot cliff in the next room? Do I use my bonus action to deal extra damage to a thug? Or do I use it to dodge so I can safely detonate a bomb on my own position?
And that is the crucial connection we want to leave with you, the listener. Whether you are a player preparing for your next campaign session, trying to understand the nuances of your new class features, or a dungeon master struggling to design encounters that actually challenge your players, understanding how these abilities logically sequence together is vital.
It's everything.
It isn't just about reading the rulebook and memorizing numbers. It's about seeing the invisible matrix of actions, bonus actions, and reactions. When you understand that economy, you stop playing a board game, and you start creating the most memorable cinematic moments possible at the table.
It's the stark difference between simply telling the DM, I hit him for 8 damage, and saying, I use my magically extending staff to pole vault over a bubbling acid pit, catch a magical ice shard out of thin air, hurl it back at a floating monster, and backflip out of my own explosion.
Exactly.
It turns the game into a high-stakes martial arts movie.
It was a marathon that you ran with absolute lethal precision. You managed your resources perfectly to cross the finish line.
Which leaves us with a final, slightly provocative thought to mull over before your next game. Amon just recovered 500,000 gold pieces. He deeply humiliated the Xanathar Guild, dissolving their smuggling boat and tossing one of their top captains into the freezing harbor.
He made a real mess of their plans.
He successfully navigated the brutal, shadowy politics of Waterdeep for the Zhentarim.
And word travels incredibly fast in this city of splendors. Secrets do not stay buried.
Exactly. When rumors of this lone elemental monk hit the streets, what happens next? Will the Harpers try to recruit him for his strict moral code and obvious capabilities?
They might.
Will the Lord's Alliance try to draft him into the elite City Watch? Will Jarlaxle's elite draw mercenaries, the Brigand Dearth, see him as a rival to be eliminated?
Or will the deeply paranoid beholder crime lord, who just lost a fortune in gold and ale, send his deadliest assassins in the dead of night to silence the man who crossed him? The marathon of the adventuring day might be over, but the next deadly race is already beginning.
You can't just sprint the first mile. You have to survive the whole day.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the tactical heart of the game. Keep your dice rolling, and we will see you next time.